What's up, everybody? It is Friday night. Oh my goodness, the Skeptical Help Bar is open again. I am so excited. I'm so excited. We have a guest tonight, and it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about Pareidolia. Oh, I can't wait. Anyway, so let's get right into our rules so that we can bring her on. So rule number one, as you should know, is you are welcome to ask any kind of paranormal related questions or any kind of questions at all. It really doesn't matter. And I'll give you my skeptical opinion, my honest opinion, whatever. And the guest will give you their opinion as well. It's a twofer tonight. Rule number two is I don't know everything. So please don't expect me to. I may have to look up stuff. My guest might not know everything either. And they might have to look up stuff. And we all learn things together.
That's what Google's for.
That's right. Google on the side. Rule number three is the golden rule. Please listen to Patrick Swayze and be nice. That's all. This is a open podcast for discussion, and you can have good conversations and put up topics. You can disagree all you want, but just be nice about it. That's all. Because if you're a dick, Donna, boom, will boot your ass.
Boom.
Yes. Rule number four is if you have a question, please do us a favor and put a Q in front of your question. That way it helps Divine Donna over on the side here pick out them questions and get right to them. And then my favorite rule of the entire show is drink up. What are you guys drinking tonight? I hope it's not. Oh, there's Donna's cup.
I always
right
get my
there.
cup in there.
She got there. Let me see. Everybody's here. Let me say hi to a bunch of people. John, Bob, Tiffany, Melissa, Diane, Donna. Donna's here. Stacy, Sharon. Barry. I'm going through names, making sure I don't do repeats. Robbie.
From Scotland.
From Scotland. Oh, that was horrible. I apologize.
That was really bad.
It's going to get even worse. All right. Tonight's guest. I'm just going to bring her on because she's a good talker. She can do it. She's a podcaster. She knows what she's doing. So let me shut my mouth. Let me switch over here to my special guest frame and bring her on. Oh, and wait. Oh, there she is. What's
Whoa,
up?
hi, Kenny.
Hey.
I'm following your rules and starting to drink up here.
With the rum.
Yes.
Yeah, the only rum I've got is the coconut Malibu stuff, but it'll go okay with caffeine-free Diet Coke, right?
That's right.
In
That's
my vintage 1980, I should say my husband's vintage 1980
love
Pac-Man mug.
That's
So-
awesome.
Oh my gosh, it's a big one.
I
thought
love
it was
it.
a little
There
one
is a-
until you went all the way up.
There is a pee break, like, in the middle of this, you said, right?
You have to make an hour, around an hour.
Yeah, we got to make an hour. It's good. We're 4 minutes in.
Yeah,
It's mostly Diet
usually-
Coke.
John usually reminds us when we're getting close.
Yeah. We have pretty professional alcoholics in the chat room, so they let us know when everyone has to pee.
Gosh, with the pandemic, I usually drink socially when I go out with friends, and with the pandemic, I just haven't drank in a long time because I only drink socially. So expect me to get a little bit loopy, a little bit fast.
Okay, we
Even
like
better.
that.
We love
It's
that because that
Friday.
makes for a great show.
Maybe.
Oh, always. The last show we did last week, we had two people from overseas. We had Kelly from the UK, and we had Jenny from Scotland. And Kelly she got a little tipsy and actually fell off her chair, which was great. All right. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about who you are? That was a
what
great
you
question,
do.
right?
Yeah,
And what you do.
If people are into podcasts, they might know me from Squaring the Strange. I was one of the people in on the ground floor with that podcast. And then about, 8 or 9 months into it, the two guys hosting it, Ben Radford and Pasquale Romero, brought me in to be a co-host too, because there's just too many damn podcasts with like two white dudes chatting.
No.
Right? I totally get you.
Oh, Pasquale's gonna be mad. I called him white. He's Latino.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so I've been podcasting for the past 3.5, 4 something years.
Okay.
And we examine weird topics. It doesn't necessarily have to be a ghost or a haunting. It can be a moral panic. It can be a hoax. It can be rumors. Literary hoaxes are especially fun. There's psychology, media panics. There's so much out there that's just a little bit weird. And so we're never really going to run out of topics.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much strangeness in the world that,
Yes.
yeah, you're going to keep going until all of you die.
All you have to do is watch the news one night and you got topics for the month.
Yeah. And my background is kind of varied. I started my career as an academic editor, working at Johns Hopkins on academic books, and my education was in writing with a minor in psychology. And then, but I'd done cartooning on the side to sort of help pay tuition. So side by side, I was cartooning in one career and doing academic editing and writing in the other career. And I finally became a full-time cartoonist about 20 years ago. And then I've seesawed back, and now I work at a communications firm by day, and I still do cartooning at night. So, and weekends. I work in Vegas. We do a lot of events, and I do caricatures there and stuff. So you pretty much name it, I can probably find some way to earn money with it. So
that's awesome.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, and we had the pleasure of meeting twice, right? Haven't we met twice?
At least twice. Yeah, Psycon happens in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And we've hung out there. Have you been to? You never got to any of the JREF, the amazing meetings, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. I think it was 2 Psycons.
I think so.
I think it was right after you had your kid.
Your baby.
Yes.
Your baby.
He's 3 years old now. He's officially a three-nager.
Yeah. I think that was the first time. And you showed up at the Psycon, and I was so excited. I think I almost tackled you because I was like, "Oh yeah, I get to meet guests."
I had the baby literally weeks before that, so my brain cells were not really prepared to make any long-term memories of that day. But I'm sure you were fun to hang out with.
And then we actually got to hang out at the Tiki Bar.
Yes, I took you and Donna and several others to the Golden Tiki, which is paranormal folks. You've got to go to the Golden Tiki if you come to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
They sort of have this reputation of being haunted, which they play up really well. There's sculptures of shrunken heads, which is a topic we've covered on Squaring the Strange. We had this whole show called The Head Show, where we talked about decapitation myths and scientific research into decapitation back in the 1700s, and shrunken heads and how those were made.
That's awesome.
Anyway, they've got those at the Golden Tiki. They're not real shrunken heads; they're made by a sculptor. Yeah. And just really wild decor. They've got like a recreation of a gaffed mermaid, like P.T. Barnum used to carry around on the sideshows. And you got that tiki that was probably overpriced, but
probably, but worth it.
It didn't matter.
And I still have the stir.
Nice, yeah. You
It's
can't beat the ambiance at the Golden Tiki and
the Golden Tiki.
Tiki, and they're not paying me a cent for publicity. I swear.
Well, they can certainly send me a check if they want.
Yeah,
I'll accept it. So tonight we are going to talk about pareidolia, and it's a topic that, at least I know for me, I've covered and dealt with for ever.
You just didn't know it had a name until recently, right?
Well, I've been aware of it. I have been aware of it because it is something that's part of photography and video, especially when people are constantly sending you ghost photos and UFO photos, and especially Bigfoot photos.
Yeah.
I mean, every bush that's out in the woods is a Bigfoot. Because Donna's feeling good.
That was funny.
So I've dealt with it quite extensively, but it's after seeing your talk, and you do a presentation for Adventures in Poor Taste Comics, their website.
AIPT, Russ Dobler. Yes.
We both did presentations for their Sci-Fi Fest.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Like, I watched all of them, and I really enjoyed yours, and it spurred me to contact you and make sure, like, I want to get you on because I want you to talk about it, because the way you presented the topic and explained it was so much better than I've ever done.
Oh, well, thanks. I hope I can remember what I said.
I hope so too. But it was really good. It was really good. You did demonstrations, and again, like the link is, I'll put the link up in the chat room for that video if anybody wants to watch that, because it's really good. Some of the demonstrations that you did, and it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, this is really good.
Well, yeah, people who are paranormal skeptics know about pareidolia, but cartoonists do too. And even the cartoonists who don't necessarily know the term pareidolia, we rely on it. We rely on the human brain's ability to perceive a face out of very limited information.
So what's the definition? Let's start with what is pareidolia?
Well, if you want to share my screen here,
I will.
I will get this up here, and
there we go.
Pareidolia.
Let me get this out of the way. Whoa, there we go.
The tendency to perceive specific, often meaningful, a specific, often meaningful image in random or ambiguous visual pattern. Now that can be clouds, that can be the cream in a coffee, that can be stars in the sky. I mean, astrology is based on pareidolia when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And and as a cartoonist, most of what we draw is not, just about everything we draw, if you're a cartoonist or a caricature artist, is not a photorealistic representation of anything. So if human beings didn't have the ability to look at two dots and a swish and say, well, that's a happy face, then no cartooning would work. You'd have to only have really hyper realistic photo representations of anything,
right?
For people to understand what you're trying to convey.
When did you first hear about this term? When did you first become, I guess, familiar with it?
Oh gosh, I can't even really remember. I guess it's something.
I mean, like you said, drawing. I mean,
it was before I got into organized skepticism. It was learning how the brain works, because I've always been fascinated with how the brain works, and how, I don't have any licensed credentials. I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a psychologist, but I have a lifelong love of studying how we see certain things, how things communicate, how we read stuff that is not necessarily there, or sometimes is intended to be there. And if you look at talking as somebody who works in PR now, if you look at the care that goes into branding,
right.
There are things that you're relying on in the human brain that people aren't consciously processing. They aren't consciously going, oh, well, the red and the white and the swirly font of a Coca-Cola bottle is actually making me feel really nostalgic. And I'm thinking about that one time with my dad that we hung out and drank Coca-Colas and went fishing. And so I'm going to buy this 6-pack of Coca-Cola. Nobody consciously thinks all that, but branding is an effort to sort of draw on these brain shortcuts that we all have. And pareidolia is one of the big brain shortcuts.
Right. And marketing is a big deal. Like, for one, I remember one of my little factoids that I've always remembered that I love putting out is FedEx. If you look at the FedEx logo, you mostly don't always realize that there is an arrow between the E and the X, and it forms it. And it's like that it's going in the direction. It's getting your packages delivered. But I think didn't I tell you? And you were like, what? No. And we waited until we found a FedEx truck. I'm like, look, there's an arrow. There's an arrow. It's right there.
Yep.
Let me see. Let me see. I think I can do this while you're still doing it.
And that's hardly the only logo like that. There's all sorts of logos have got considerations like that going on.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you look,
the E and the X is an arrow. Yep.
There's the arrow. Really cool stuff. I love this kind of thing.
In Western cultures where we read left to right, we view that as progress. If you're going from left to right, I guess on the TV screen it should be like forward. This. If you're going left to right, you're making progress. You're going forward. And in Eastern countries, or anywhere where you read the other way around, right to left, you would view that as backwards. You would view that as not a progressive arrow.
No. Okay. So what else do you have?
One question.
Oh, we have one question. Cool.
Let's
Yeah, you can throw questions in there.
Okay.
So is it safe to say Pareidolia accounts for the Rorschach ink blot test better than the unconscious?
Oh, we could get into there. Yeah, we did a segment on the Rorschach ink blot tests, and it's not necessarily what it purports to be. It's there's a lot of psychological tests that really don't carry water when you look deeply into them and when you study them and do tests on them. So, controlled, tests on them. And when you're looking at a Rorschach ink blot or anything, like Pareidolia is the Rorschach ink blot. I did an article years ago on Pareidolia from a cartoonist point of view, and I'm like, and that time The Watchmen had just come out, the movie, and I said, if Rorschach had a plucky little sidekick, she'd be called Pareidolia, because it's one and the same. It's you could say that your unconscious is what's bringing forth these images, but your brain is actively forming. Okay, that looks like a butterfly. That looks like a penis. That looks like a can of soup. Whatever you think it looks like, and I'm sure your life experiences will feed into that. Because if you've never seen a butterfly, you're not going to say that looks like a butterfly.
Right.
So yeah, I can't speak to whether or not it reveals anything about your unconscious, but it certainly reveals what you have experienced perceiving, and it will show a psychologist whether or not you have the ability, whether or not you have pareidolia, because not everybody has it to the same degree. They are fine. People on the autism spectrum sometimes don't experience pareidolia the same way as everybody else who's neurotypical would experience it.
That's interesting. I did not know that. I did read somewhere that it was I started reading up on it, and I have no idea where my notes are, but that it was a not a condition, but just a regular everyday occurrence for most people.
Oh yeah. It's not. It's your brain is working correctly if you're experiencing pareidolia with things.
Oh,
yes,
that's good to know.
And if it goes a little nuts, then it comes into a condition oh man, now I'm drawing
apophenia.
Apophenia. Well, no, it goes
prosopagnosia.
Hallucinate. Wow. You keep throwing me all these weird foreign names.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yeah.
Does that have a definition?
Supercalifragilistic?
Yeah. Does it have a definition? Is it a word?
It's a word.
Is it in the dictionary?
I think so.
Detour. Somebody find me the answer.
God. I'm not doing that.
That's why I gave it to the chat room.
So pareidolia. All right. So what are some examples? I guess. I mean, I have some examples I can put up of ghostly kind of pareidolia, but what are some examples like in everyday life?
Because I'm a pronunciation pedant here. Are you pronouncing it pareidolio?
Pareidolia.
Okay. All right.
Pareidolia.
That's how you say
it's my accent.
It's your Philadelphia accent.
It's really the rum.
You come here for wood eyes.
I just want to make sure people are looking up the right word if they're like writing down everything you say.
Pareidolia. Pareidolia.
Yes, and there's audio pareidolia too, where you hear stuff and you think you hear a word maybe, and your brain goes right to it.
Yes,
all the time.
So, yeah, I mean that happens a lot. There's what was it called? I think there's it's called like the shower effect or something, where you're in the shower, and I have to look up I don't think that's the actual term, but it's when you're in the shower and it generates white noise from the shower, the water constantly flowing, and people can have this experience where they hear their name called.
Oh yeah.
They actually like come out of the shower curtain, like, what? Hello. But it's nobody called their name. It's just the white noise.
The white noise forms a pattern deep in your brain.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And I was telling you before we started, I've got a kid that just turned 3 years old. And when you have a toddler, your audio pareidolia gets into like overdrive, because you want your kid to start talking in sentences and saying things that you recognize, and more stuff than just mommy and cheese. And
right. Yeah.
Which I'm not sure which is his favorite of those two, but but they'll say something like, a purple smoothie, and you'll be like, you want to drink a purple smoothie? What? And you're trying to fit something that makes sense into something that might very well just be random, unmeaningful noise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we could go into facilitated communication and all this other stuff. There's many rabbit holes. Many rabbit holes you can go down.
Well, we have time. So,
okay.
But John's got a question here.
Okay.
Is there any chance we can do this because as newborns, our life is trying to identify people and things around us?
My best guess to that question would be probably because newborns can identify something as a face. As much as you can test newborns, people who do tests on this have found that newborns will gravitate towards something that looks like a face. And it doesn't have to be a face. It doesn't have to, they say that they can tell their mother's face apart from other faces, if I'm remembering correctly. But if you have two dots and a little, if you have an emoji of a face, a newborn will be like, oh, it's a face, and gravitate toward it. And there's a zoologist, an ornithologist, Nico Tinbergen, who did some fascinating studies on baby birds. Now, baby birds aren't newborns, but much like newborns, their whole world is about growing and learning how to perceive and getting food and getting, nourishment. Okay. And they did some experiments on, how do these newborn chicks perceive things? And the mother gull, I forget what type of seagulls these were, but they had like a red beak with like a black band around the beak. So it's just a red beak, one stripe. And so whenever the chicks saw that beak, they'd go crazy and flap around and try and peck at the beak because they wanted to be fed. And this is baby birds. The one that doesn't, like, the squeaky wheel gets the food. If they're not all the baby birds in a nest survive. So the ones that don't peck at that beak are the ones that are not going to survive that brooding season. So you see how this can be selected for. So the researchers under Tinbergen, what they did is they took a popsicle stick and they colored it red and they put one band around it and stuck it near the chicks and they flapped around and pecked at it. And they're like, okay, well, let's see what happens when we make it even brighter red, and we'll put two black strips around it and stick it in there. And we'll see if the birds recognize it as a beak or if they don't care because it's not the same pattern. And the birds went even crazier. Like the exaggeration of the visual stimulus produced a very exaggerated response in them. So the way that the brain is working is, and you think about it, it's the way that the brain can get the most reward out of it. You don't want to have a really narrow, like selection process of like, well, I think that might be my mother's beak, but maybe not. Right. So I'm going to reserve my energy. No, anything that's close and something that looks like it's even more got the stimulus that I'm used to, I'm going to think I can get twice as much food from it, So anyway, I took us from newborn babies to chicks here, but
that's okay. That's all right.
I'm telling you what I know.
This is like an evolutionary trait. And I think it goes back. It's I forget the term, but pretty much like recognizing things out of necessity. Seeing vague stimuli and saying, all right, that kind of looks like something that might be dangerous. I might want to stay away from that.
Well, that's exactly why that's exactly the just so story that people always give to explain how pareidolia came about in our ancestors. They're like, there's two cavemen and, or, in this case, there's a huge population of human ancestors. And the ones that had brains that didn't really recognize a wide scope of possible predators got eaten by predators. And the ones whose brains were hypersensitive and were like, that looks like it might be a pair of eyes, like maybe to a saber-toothed tiger behind those bushes there. Even though I can't see all of the tiger, I can sort of make out what might be a tiger face behind the shrubs. Mm-hmm. So I better get the fuck out of here. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we say fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you can say fuck. It's all good.
So ancient human peoples who had that going on in their brain were less likely to die. And so we ended up coming from a long line of people who were selected for because they were good at spotting dangers. And so we all kind of have that baked into our system. And I'm very glad we do, because now we can use it to enjoy things like comics and understand, you know, that Dormammu on Doctor Strange is an entity with a face instead of just weird, wavy, psychedelic lines.
Right.
So, and in fact, I'd like to show you, if you wouldn't mind sharing my screen again here.
Absolutely.
There's a comic artist named Jordan. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting here. Jordan Culver, and this is the start of his comic. He's got he worked with Richard Wiseman, who you might know. He's a brilliant psychologist out of the UK. And they did a series of comic books called Hocus Pocus. Any listeners who are into, well, if you're into the paranormal, you will love Hocus Pocus. They go into spiritualism and ghosts and hauntings, and, you know, the Houdini comes up and Arthur Conan Doyle. And there's just so many rich Easter eggs in these 3 comic books. And on the website, Hocus Pocus, I believe it's hocuspocuscomic.com, but if you just search for Hocus Pocus Richard Wiseman, you will find it. Pareidolia, there's a little quick snippet here, and he's like, we find faces almost everywhere, even when they're not actually there. Uncanny as it may seem, there's nothing mystical about it. And then it goes into that. And I'm not going to give you the whole comic here because I only did a quick couple of snaps, but let me show you the end here. It's just a 1-page thing in the extras if you want to see it. And then, like I said, the evolution thing comes out. You know, there's Charles Darwin. Although this cognitive quirk is by definition a mistake of overinterpretation, it's a good strategy. A face could represent an opportunity for cooperation or conflict. Again, we're a social species. And one of the things I mentioned in my talk is it's not just about recognizing the tiger that might eat you. It's also about recognizing the mate who might fuck you, you know. if you see a face across a crowded area and they're looking at you because they're interested in you, people are really good at recognizing that, and often to the point where they over recognize it. I know every female listening probably has a story from a bar where a guy comes over and goes, "Hi, I saw you looking at me." And that's because his pareidolia, if you will, of figuring out what a female face who's interested looks like is very wide. It selects for everything. And even if you just may have just not really even been glancing in his direction, he may have interpreted it that way. So yeah, anyway, on this, Jordan Culver demonstrates it really nicely with this nice little tree drawing here. And we came from those who, erring on the side of caution, something we still do, even if there's less at stake. And it shows the little emoji. So it's a really nice, elegant little 1-page cartoon summary of pareidolia.
I mean, emojis themselves are based on pareidolia. I mean, it's
yeah, they wouldn't work without it. Yeah,
even before they had the good icons where we can recognize better as the smiley faces, but even when we just used like the punctuation to make these faces, we recognize those faces.
Well, I would argue that there's a little bit of acculturation going on with that, because when I first saw a hyphen with a semicolon, you know, a semicolon with a hyphen and a parentheses, I was like, what? And then when somebody said, oh no, turn it sideways, it's a happy face, I was like, oh, they're giving me a happy face. Cool.
Okay.
Because I'm old enough to remember before we had emojis. And we would tie things to pigeons and send them to people. No. And so yeah, I do have a memory in like late teens, early 20s or whatever, when somebody sent, and you know, email was new, and I got a thing with that, and I'm like, and I remember finding out. And since then, like, all sorts of emojis are just easy to decipher. You know what it is, you know what you're looking for, and you read them very well. I would argue, and it was one of the things I mentioned in the talk for AIPT is, you know, it's not really an experiment you can do. I mean, maybe with some of the still untouched tribes in the Amazon, but that would be incredibly unethical to just pull somebody out of there to do this. If you could go back in time to say, you know, the I don't know, before the printing press, before a lot of stuff, and just grab a random prehistoric person or somebody from the 400s or something, and show them an anime, or show them a comic panel, or show, because you're learning all this visual stuff. Every comic you read is loaded with visual language that you don't even know you're processing. You understand what's in the foreground. You understand what's in the background. You understand the raise of an eyebrow. You understand all this facial stuff that is pareidolia in one respect. If you're just looking at like a cloudy, not really perfectly represented face.
Right.
But you're also laying on all this acculturation. So I do wonder if somebody who hasn't experienced that, throw them in front of something and say, do you see a face? Do you see this? Do you see that? They probably won't have the same ability to pull out the meaning that we as a modern audience do.
As we, because it's a learned, some of this is learned behavior.
Yeah.
Because the modern day,
with the help of pareidolia, which is like an inborn thing. Right. But the and I'm sure that goes on with paranormal stuff too, to relate it to what you look at all the time. The first person who saw a little streaky bit of light and was like, that's a what do they call those, rays? What
light rods?
Light rod. That's a light rod. The first person might have been like, okay, that's a light rod. Here's what it is, and here's the entity that makes it, and blah, blah, blah. People read about that, and so now they see stuff that might have just gone under their radar before, but they're like, I think I see a light rod there. That's a light rod.
Yep.
So,
I mean, the more we talk about it, the more I'm thinking of how complex this is, because even right now, what we're looking at, you're looking at your screen, I'm looking at my screen. We're not actually seeing each other. We're seeing light, dots of light that make up a picture, and we are interpreting that as images of each other. Which is mind-blowing when you start really thinking about it.
And we're both doing it with the help of visual technology here. But even if I take my glasses off, I can still see Kenny, his little blurry face. I can still see my blurry face. And it kind of makes you wonder, people probably relied on pareidolia quite a lot back in the days before people could get eyeglasses.
True that.
If you were lucky to live to the ripe old age of 35, that is.
Right. But you're right. I mean, seeing the world out of focus. And I mean, I'm only discovering that more now in the recent years, because I've never worn glasses. These are reading glasses. So I don't usually need them except when I have to read.
Dude, I was like totally blind when I was little.
Yeah.
God knows what I would have saw.
She had the thick bottle glasses.
Not that. No, I didn't. They weren't that bad.
So everything was blurry to Donna. But I can imagine going.
Your marriage has just been explained to me. No.
Damn!
100 points right there for the girl.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for having us on the show. Goodbye. But no, I mean, I can imagine, like going around. Is that what you used to? I mean, seeing things so blurry, you would have to just rely on. This looks like this person.
You don't realize, because you think that you're seeing what everybody else sees. You don't realize that you're not seeing clearly.
I do remember when you had the surgery.
Yeah, when I went from contacts to laser surgery.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, this is how everything looks. This is what it looks like."
It was amazing. Like the colors, just the brightness of everything and the deepness of the colors. It's totally different from contacts or glasses.
Yeah, I started wearing glasses like in middle school. Yeah, and I do remember, because your need for glasses changes over the years, and like every like 2 or 3 years or whatever, I need a new prescription, and I would have just gotten used to the fact that this is how I see the world,
right?
And then I would get the new glasses on. I'm like, oh, I can see individual leaves on that tree now. I forgot that was the thing that people could see.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just get used to the blurs. And you go with what you assume various things are based on their,
That's the way I am right now.
The limited visual data. And when we've talked about the Goldilocks zone of that limited visual data, where you get your Bigfoot photos. No, that's why you don't have Bigfoot photos that are clear and crisp and absolutely unmistakable. Or if you do, you're like, oh, I can see the zipper on that,
Yes. Yeah. Because, it's the Bigfoot industry and evidence is based solely on pareidolia because otherwise you'd be able to see everything and understand what's really going on.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it also makes sense that people are so dead set on like, but I know what I'm looking at here. Right. You can't tell me it's not that, because pareidolia goes right to the lizard part of your brain. You're not arguing some like random, Bigfoot might just be blurry. You're not arguing about some existential point that you don't care about. Pareidolia, the studies that I looked at say that you register something as a human face like immediately, like it's like one of the fastest processes in your basic brain anatomy. And only after you register it as a face do you start picking apart, oh, it's not a realistic face, it's the nose is really big, or the eyes are really close together, or it's a cartoon, it's just a fake face. That part comes after your brain goes face, I'm
awake.
So if you look at something and your brain, the lizard part of your brain goes Bigfoot, then it's hard to talk yourself out of that, if that's what you see. So you kind of have to remove yourself from your actual neurological experience to be able to say, maybe this isn't representing reality, what my brain thinks it sees.
I think that's for the paranormal believers across the board, that's a difficult step to cross, because I mean, as you said, once they get it in their brain, they have that initial impression. They see something, they're like, yes, this is a Bigfoot. This is a ghost. This is the alien. I know what I saw, because that usually follows it. And then it becomes an argument where, like, you can argue all you want. I know what I saw in those 2 seconds that I saw something from 120 yards away in the dark at midnight.
Well, and really you have a tough fighting position when you're like, no, it's really not, because your brain is broken. Let me explain to you how your brain is like broken and you're a caveman. It's not the argument people want to hear.
Right. It's very difficult to try to explain. We see things right away, but it's not right. It's usually not right when we see it. Something like that. Those examples where it's a split second eyewitness kind of thing. Usually we're wrong, or we're just off a little bit. And I mean, that happens a lot with crime scene witnesses, where they witness something that happens in a split second. Everything unfolds in the middle of a street, and when they're later interviewed, their details are way off.
Because
they fill in the gaps. They don't see things. They fill in the gaps, but they are not paying attention to everything, and they fill in the gaps with their biases and beliefs, and what they might have heard somebody else saying, another witness, what have you. But so pareidolia has an audio cousin. They're brother and sister, and that's we touched on it briefly in the beginning about hearing voices in the shower, but this is something. Have you experienced anything like this?
The most striking audio pareidolia I've had was thanks to Brian Dunning. If you have heard his podcast, Skeptoid.
What? Who is that?
Was like,
I don't know.
Is like a long. I'm going way back in the archives here. He did an episode on Skeptoid about audio pareidolia, and I played it for the whole family, and it was like a magic trick. He pulled out these audio clips of, I forget what was used. It was like some sort of sine wave, like audio noise that was just, it had no vocal qualities to it. There was no pronunciation of any sort of like letters. It was just like Charlie Brown's parents. It was like,
I'm a teacher from Charlie Brown.
That's even not what it sounded like, because my mouth is making sounds that sound like a G or an R or something. And no, it was like just a sine wave. It was a mechanical, and he had various ones of this. He had like 4 or 5 examples, and he's like, listen to this and see if you can discern any meaning from it. And so you'd listen to it, and then he'd say, now listen to it after hearing this interpretation. And it was a woman's voice going, the children went to the museum today. And as soon as you heard that, then you listen to the same sine wave, and it would go, and you could hear the children went to the museum today, and you couldn't unhear it. So this is a magic trick you can only do once with those clips.
Right.
If you hear them once without hearing what, without hearing something that's going to bias you about it.
The priming.
Without being primed for what it's going to be, then really you're hearing nonsense. You don't hear anything. And then as soon as you have some data to fit into that box, you can't undo it. Your brain will not hear it as anything but those words after that. And he does like 4 or 5 of them. And if you can dig it up, like I said, it's like a 10-year-old episode of Skeptoid with Brian Dunning, and it was audio pareidolia.
So, I mean, priming comes into play with both audio and visual, because I've had not only that, I mean, the audio part, I'm sure most people can relate. So is the sound wave thing the reason people fall for EVPs?
It's a great demonstration of how people fall for EVPs. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, and that's what I was just about to get into, John. When you see these reality shows pop up their EVPs on screen, they usually have the text.
Yeah, they put a caption on there for you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like, hey, you know what? We did the work for you. Not really the work, but we're going to tell you what it's supposed to say. So here you go. And they prime you. You're ready to hear it. You're reading that as it's being played. So that's what you hear.
Yeah.
And again, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And the same goes with visual representations. When you are handed a photo and someone says, hey, look, there's a face right here in that picture. You look and you're like, oh, well, I see the face because that's what you're primed to look for. And now you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And that's a big, it's a trigger for pareidolia, because you don't, even if you looked at that picture or listened to that recording without the priming, you probably wouldn't hear anything or see anything unusual. It would be like, oh, all right.
I mean, yeah. There are some things that do sound like, words, but yeah. And Ben, I should mention Ben Radford has done a whole, chapter in his book on the EVPs. He did his book, scientific search for paranormal investigation, ghost investigation, paranormal search for spirits. I've got it somewhere. But
I got it. It's right back there.
By the way, Ben told me to say hi, Kenny. And I said, well, if you mean Ben says fuck you, Kenny, I'll say that for you.
Yeah, pretty much. That's because he's doing his own talk. He's trying.
He's not watching this one because he's off doing his own. But he mentions the EVP thing is not just audio pareidolia. There's a whole host of questions about that, because you hear some sound that sounds kind of like dada, and you're like, okay, that might sound like dada, like a toddler trying to say the word daddy. It might refer to an aesthetic movement from the 1930s. It might refer to a word in a different language, dada, that it might be the Sting song, the do da da da. There's many different interpretations to a thing that is recognized as a word. And I'd be curious, maybe have you ever seen any sort of cross investigation where an EVP is given to a ghost hunting team from America and one from Brazil and one from France, and see what they all pull out of it?
That I've
different language speakers.
I've never heard of that kind of experiment going on, but that's
make it happen.
Really interesting. I think I'm going to jump on that and see if I can, because I do have friends now across the world. So the different accents and dialects to see if they can come up with it.
EVPs and ghost hunting is not a uniquely American thing, right? There's people who do it all over the world, and I'd be curious.
I also think that context has something to do with the audio pareidolia. As well, because in addition to priming, you have, if you're asking questions, And you hear that on the recording. If somebody asks, like, what's your favorite color? You're going to listen for colors. You're not going to listen for a chair or, murder or anything like that. Yeah, I'm going to extremes here.
My favorite color is murder. I don't know about yours.
Murder red.
Red.
But I mean, that kind of sets you up. That's priming you to hear something specific. And it's still a range of sounds that you could hear, but it narrows that range down significantly because you're listening for red, blue, orange, green, black, white, whatever.
And you could sort of see how if you want to go back into our evolutionary history to one of the Just So stories about how pareidolia became a thing in our brains, that makes total sense. If you're a hunter-gatherer in a tribe of humans and you're standing guard and there's a giant, bush plain in the middle of Africa, you're going to be on the lookout for tigers or lions or something. You're going to be primed. You're going to be like, I better not see you. But if you're a Viking in a dance hall, looking for a pretty lass, you're going to be more primed to, look for cues of like, oh, that girl looking at me, and so it depends on what you're looking for.
So I have a video that I want to play.
Okay.
And this has sound, and this is actually, it's a ghost hunting group that caught an EVP, but they go a little bit further than most ghost hunting groups that I know of, and they figure it out. So I'm going to share this. Let me make sure I get this right because I have so many screens open right now. I don't know what I got going on. Here it is. All right. So let me make sure this is full screen, and then I'm going to share for everyone to listen because I got to have the audio going. And here we go. So let me get that off. Boom. Here we go. You can hear that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
A debunk.
There you go.
Come on, Bob.
Wait, it's cold down there, Bob.
So I hate dead air.
There
So
you go.
there you go. Right here.
Come on, Bob.
Wait, it's cold down there, Bob.
I hear it's cold there, Bob.
So there's a small voice before that.
Yeah.
And this team went to 3 different linguists, asked them what was going on. And they come up with this German phrase.
There you go.
Here we go. Here.
Come on, Bob.
Wait, it's cold down there, Bob.
Sounded like Bjork.
Now, to me, I mean, I heard it. I thought it sounded German too. Like when I hear it, because I can hear it pretty loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It sounded German to me. I took German in high school. I have a German background, but it was interesting when they played this next clip.
Hold down. Try again. There you go.
Feeling the same.
It's probably 56 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So
You
that
feel
was
anything standing, yeah.
yes. They were proud of their team, so that's
Hey, points to them for
Right.
publicizing a miss rather than just what
Right?
they think are hits. Yeah.
and yeah, you usually don't see that where a ghost hunting team will, or a paranormal team, whatever they want to call themselves, they don't go the extra mile usually and say,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? We checked these other recorders that we had going, and we found out it was 2 other people that were some distance, a little bit distance. They were in front of them, and they were talking. And
how many ghost teams go out there with just one recorder?
yeah, Yeah, usually it's one recorder, and you don't get this backup. And I mean, it looked like they had two or three more recorders going at the time, and it was on all of them. So they had, it was an actual sound, so it was there, it was present in the room, and that leads you to try to figure it out better. And when they played that one clip, and they found out that it was the young woman saying, "Do you feel anything just standing?" It was the way she said it.
Yeah.
And from a distance, I heard a German accent the first clip, but I was like, wow, okay.
Well,
cool.
And I didn't hear a German accent until they said, "We thought it sounded German." And then I could hear the German accent.
Right.
Power to them for figuring it out. What would be cool is if they didn't just say, "Okay, cool, we found the source of this." If they also looked into, but why were we so sure it was something? And we have to realize we have to apply that same skepticism to every EVP we ever listen to. And just because we don't have other recordings backing us up, to figure out what other unknown EVP sounds are, doesn't mean absolutely this is a ghost.
Yeah, I thought I agree with you. I think my one critique of that would be they went to 3 linguists first. Why didn't they check the other recordings before doing that?
Maybe they've got linguist friends on speed dial and it was really easy. I mean, if you're actually consulting with linguists, that has to cost a little money.
That's still good. Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's what I would have done first. Like, oh, we got a recording. This sounds weird. Do we have any other recorders in that room? Oh, yeah. We do. Let's listen to that. Let's see if we caught it, because maybe we caught it clearer.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll go that way.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, order of operations is important.
Yes.
It looked like it was on a video, not a recorder. So maybe they didn't. That was more. They caught the audio of the video.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would still do the same thing. Like, do we have any recording from that era? Yeah, we have a video. So yeah, that's still recording. We still have audio from it. Let's check it out.
But that's good, just logical, practical advice, Kenny. If you have multiple recordings, before you send it out to linguists, listen to all your dang recordings of that time and place.
Absolutely. I have one more. I have I have a couple pictures, and I have one more. I have one of these how do you say it? Rorschach. I feel like I'm saying Worcester. So Rorschach.
It's like Love Shack, but with rar.
Rorschach.
Rorschach.
So I want to share this and see. I want everyone in the chat room to give me your impression of what this picture looks like. So here we go. Boom. There we go. What does your brain see? I know what I see. But I'm curious about what everybody else sees.
Do we say what we see?
You can say what you say. Yeah. This is just an informal thing. I just wanted to throw it up there because as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, that kind of looks like this to me. But I'm not going to influence anyone else. You go first.
I see 2 naked hermaphrodite butlers lifting a large kettle of soup.
That's cool. I actually, if you think about, like, I was seeing like body bones, like the hip bones.
Wow.
Oh, you're looking at the negative space. You're looking at the white space, like an X-ray.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. I saw. Let me see what some people see. Pelvis. I do these. Let's see. 2 chickens washing their hands in the baptism tub. What? That is so specific, John. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I saw something like the tub too. They were both lifting a giant cauldron in my interpretation.
A crab. I saw, the first thing I thought of was this looks like someone's neck with a bow tie in the middle, and someone's got like a 50s hairstyle where the hair kind of,
or the collar.
Yeah, the collar.
The lapels. Yeah.
So yeah, the collar. Let's see. The collar's here. There's the bow tie. This is like going Dracula. Down to where the
Dracula.
Yeah, the Dracula's his little fluffy pirate shirt kind of thing down there.
It looks like a skull now.
And yeah, and this is long hair. So
earrings.
2 people carrying water or a plant pot. Nice. 2 of those baby T-Rex looking dinos like in Jurassic Park. 2 picking up a skull. Wow. All right.
I see the skull now.
So there you go. I just wanted to play with that for now, but I do have some other pictures. We're gonna let's take our commercial.
Yeah, we're at that time.
We'll do our commercial. Everyone gets a pee break, and we will come back in 2 minutes and 22 seconds, and we'll get to some pictures, and then we can continue our conversation.
Okay,
Sound good?
great, cool.
All right, so let me get here, and the commercial starts now. Hey everyone. This is my store. This is my store. On the theme of science and skepticism. It's here that you can find all kinds of shirts, hoodies, yoga pants, tote bags, fanny packs. I know you guys love masks and pillows. All with science and skepticism at the theme. I even have hoodies for your pet, your dog, your cat. Can wear one of these things. I also have a general store that sells more inspirational quotes, drinking stuff. Because I like that. I also have a store set up for our Three Tortured Souls podcast, which we do Saturday night. You can find shirts, Tim Vickers' drinking vessel, the Muck. I also have a store tailored a little bit more towards my ghost hunting friends. Paranormal, Kenny Bill. These are shirts and quotes that are a little bit more on the ghost hunting, especially this one. Translucent, Paris. Ghost. That's my favorite. So if you're interested, head on over to teespring.com/stores/scientific skepticism by IAKB. Check it out. Thanks.
Are you tortured by what you see and hear about the paranormal field? Join us as we critically examine paranormal claims, science, ghosts, demons, cryptids, UFOs, ghost hunting technology, and much more are all on the table for discussion. Three Tortured Souls is a video podcast that streams live on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 Pacific.
Made it.
Woohoo!
It was the quickest pee break ever. I barely washed my hands.
Oh my god. Well, I don't have to worry about that.
Yes, you do.
We have to.
That's gross.
No, I mean I don't have to worry about her washing her hands.
Oh.
That's what I meant.
Ew.
And there goes my reputation. I literally run down a flight of stairs through the house to get to the kitchen to fill up and then run back up and then pee as fast as I can. I really do need that bucket underneath the table.
Oh.
I can be like,
Listeners looking for a good Christmas present for Kenny, there you go. Pee bucket.
oh, there you go. I need pee bag. Yeah, Stadium Buddy. I think that's what it's called.
People in the chat say that there was an echo in the commercial.
I don't. Oh, maybe because
You have too many
because
screens
I was
up.
sharing.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Oh.
Because that other screen
I don't
is
know.
up.
Sorry about that, people.
We have too
Appreciate
many
it.
Screens up.
Or I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. All right, so let's get in. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? I see
nothing.
one.
Where?
From YouTube. T-Cat.
Yeah, we just answered it.
We did.
The echo in the
Oh,
commercial.
okay. Never mind. I just saw the queue. That's all I
did
look
my
at.
Job.
Damn.
Thank you.
I know there was a
Thank you for
question.
calling me out and shit.
Actually, we can get off topic a little bit because I know John had a question at the beginning of the show asking what was your strangest experience or strangest episode that you've done with Squaring the Strange.
Strangest episode. Well, I'm wondering what he means by that in terms of like strangest, like we couldn't explain it, or strangest, like this is wild and wacky and I can't believe this happened. Because there's
Probably wild and wacky.
gosh, there's a lot.
So what was the topic that when it was pitched to you, you were like, are you fucking kidding me? And then you started looking it up going, this is so fucked up.
The Bangladesh toilet ghost comes to mind.
Love it.
And it's and when you get into it, there's so much involved in the cultural context. I learned about working conditions for women in factories in Bangladesh. I learned about appropriate behavior from certain, social strata in that culture, and also looking at jinns as opposed to ghosts. Because it was a Muslim area, and they believe not so much in ghosts, but in jinn, which aren't departed human souls. They are their own thing, and it was kind of a mass sociogenic illness thing too, because these women started feeling the presence of a toilet jinn in the factory, and before you know it, a bunch of people were sick because the ghost is the jinn was making them sick, not in the way that gin usually makes you sick.
So how dare I ask, how did they feel the gin? Like how
well, Ben went into it, and there's a lot involved. It can be an overwhelming feeling of dis-ease. It's not that something knocks you off of the toilet.
Oh, that's what I was hoping for.
It's not a poltergeist. No. It's not like that Ghoulies movie from the 80s where it pops right out. No.
Love it.
No, it's and so a generalized feeling of dis-ease when you're taking your 1 pee break in an 18-hour day in a garment factory.
Right.
I mean, and there's also kind of peer pressure here. If you hear a rumor that there's a jinn in the bathroom and you're close to breaking anyway, I'd be like, yeah, boss, I got the vapors too from being by that toilet ghost. I got to go home today, So there's a lot going on in terms of unraveling it. And
okay.
Yeah, so that was one of Ben's, he does a lot of the heavy lifting with the research because he's written like 12, 13 books now and thousands of articles on this stuff. He is
total book whore.
As an editor, I just handle other people's writing.
Right.
So,
he keeps bugging me every week. He sends me a text and he's like, "Hey, how's that book coming?" Because
Have you still not written your book?
Oh my goodness,
I've been on them too.
I get distracted easily.
No, you don't say.
Yeah, I get so many projects that I just get.
Well, I think you need to just sit yourself in a bare room with no clutter. Oh wait, never mind.
Not in this house.
Kidding?
Not in this house.
That doesn't happen here. No. This house, we live and work in this house.
Yeah,
so like this is my upstairs office. I have part of the basement, which is my mystery museum, which is all my not haunted stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you charge people like $50 like Zach Baggins to go in there?
Yet.
No.
Not touch anything?
No. Oh, no. See, I can say no twice to that statement because no, I do not charge people. They are free to come over if I know them because I don't want strangers in my house. But if I know you, you're welcome to come by and look. And I could also say no because you can touch everything. Everything's out.
Do you make anybody sign a disclaimer that some of the stuff is the most haunted and dangerous artifacts in the world?
No. Because I could because I still have the copy of his because I took it when
we get like a little parody, yeah.
So, but yeah, anyone that I know.
If we're wondering what to discuss next, I do have a couple of images I could throw up.
Oh, please!
And something that recently happened. One of the things I covered when we talked about Pareidolia on the show, I can't remember when, we were talking about crisis actors. And you know what I'm talking about when I say crisis actors?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
Well,
but yeah,
Alex Jones is in the news right now because he's losing lawsuits left and right for calling Sandy Hook a hoax and saying that no kids actually got shot and it was all a big, fake front for, I don't know, gun control, liberal, something.
Basically, crisis actors are allegedly people that are hired to play victims.
To play victims, yes.
Yes, to cry and go hysterical in front of a camera so they can get their picture taken and make it look like there's more of a disaster or disaster because it's all a hoax. That's pretty much what I see.
Yeah, people who fly from place to place and pretend that there's been a mass shooting, and they're paid to do this because they're actors. And the hook that this conspiracy, latches onto is they get photos of people's faces, of people in the midst of like agony. Their features are drawn. They're like, and they're crying. Their eyes are shut. They're crying. Their mouth is open. They're in utter agony. And that's the photo that photojournalists want to get. They don't want to get a photo of somebody filling out paperwork or looking down at the ground and kicking a pebble. They want a photo of somebody in anguish. So that's what you see. And when you take a photo of somebody in anguish, contorting their features, and it happens to be, say, a woman in her mid-20s with medium length brown hair, maybe with glasses, guess what? She looks like 85 million other people.
Right.
Enough. Not exactly, but she looks enough like 85 other million people with the same gender, with the same length of hair, where if you contort their features in the same look of anguish, and you're looking at a 72 DPI screen, you're like, yeah, that's the same girl I saw at the Las Vegas shooting, and now she's in California at this shooting. And people put that together, and again, it's not pareidolia. It's not the classic definition of pareidolia where like, I think I see this thing, so it's this thing, but it's a perceived recognition out of something that is not as specific as you think it is. The visual noise is there, and it's being obscured. The features are being obscured or being more generalized by the fact that they have an expression. And this is the same reason why comedians might not look at all like Robert De Niro, but if they're good at doing a De Niro impersonation, it's almost like magic. They're like talking, and they're like, so I'm watching this Robert De Niro movie, and they go, and they like squint their eyes and do the same expression that he does in some of his classic movies. And suddenly it's like, oh wow, suddenly that comedian looks like Robert De Niro. And that works with our little primordial social hunter-gatherer tribe, pareidolia infested brains. And recently, here, I'll pull this up here. A statue just went up in Virginia.
Hold on.
In Richmond, Virginia, to replace the statue of Robert E. Lee, and it was called Emancipation. It's got an African-American woman and an African-American man. And the photo that went around of the gentleman people were like, that looks just like Obama. And if you take a look at the statue, I'm like, I can see why they think that. Right. I don't think that.
I don't think that.
Well, people saw Obama in it because Obama, as a president, he was photographed so many times with that expression. He would contemplate things before he spoke. He would be photographed in prayer, in just solemn concern. And so if you do a search for images, I mean, you're not going to find this of other presidents, but if you do a search for Obama with, just Obama eyes closed, you see tons where he has the same expression as that statue. His eyes are closed. And if you look, the lips are different. The ears are very different.
Right.
The eyebrows are different. The nose is different. He's got a mole there. He's got different cropped hair. But that expression is so well known with him that, the expressions are similar. The features are not, but caricature artists pick up on this to the point where I'm going to show you an Obama caricature by Tom Fluharty.
Oh yeah.
And he kind of opened up the eyes a little bit, and he made it more of a thing of disgust, but you just have that kind of like eyes almost closed, tilted up so that the ears are lower, and he's kind of turned it into a look of disgust. But I know all the photo references he's using because they're not hard to find.
Right.
Wow.
And so I just wanted to point that out. It's just from somebody who deconstructs expressions and faces. Right. That's a way that I can sort of bring a little background to easy assumptions people make when they see when they want to jump to the conclusion that, oh, this person that I'm seeing online is a crisis actor. No, you just don't know how to read features, and you're discounting the fact that a lot of people look like a lot of other people, and that when somebody is in the grips of a extreme expression, most everybody on a roller coaster is having the same expression, and I guarantee you can swap out your roller coaster photo with somebody else who has the same generalized phenotype as you, and you wouldn't know.
I get comments all the time that I look like different politicians, that I look like some kind of some actors, and when I look at the person, because usually I don't follow politics, I hate politics with a passion, but if somebody brings it up, I'm like, all right, let me look up that name. Yeah, that guy kind of looks like me. But when you think about it, yeah, you're dealing with 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and a kind of oval face for most people. You know, like there's
also, when we put on extra weight, we look even more like each other because it obscures any sort of, because our features come from our dental structure. Well, our dental structure and our skeletal structure. And the more fat gets on your face, the less structure is revealed. Fat cheeks can look a little different from each other, and people can have different sort of double chins, but it really kind of samifies everybody. And I'm a doughy, middle-aged white woman with glasses and brown hair. I get mistaken for so many people. And people regularly come up to me. You look so much like my mom's friend. Oh, you look so much like my English teacher.
Yep.
Oh my God. And in college, I had this one guy who would call out to me at least 10 times over the course of one semester. He would call out to me from across the quad, "Hi, Brenda." I never actually got close enough to him to say, "I'm not Brenda."
Right.
He'd yell out, "Hi, Brenda," to me like every Tuesday afternoon. So.
Wow.
That's funny. Like in our area, I can't tell you how many times people stop me and are like, "Do you work at Jean's Hospital?" I'm like, no, I swear. I was just talking to you yesterday at Jean's. We were in the elevator, and I'm like, no, I was not there.
You need to pay more attention to your surroundings.
But I do get it a lot, like in our area here.
Wow.
Just people at like a Wawa or something.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, again, there's gonna be a lot of evolutionary
awesome. I love that kind of shit
here. When you think about it, we kind of evolved to function in a tribe of about 80 to 100 people.
Right.
That's how many people you had in your average hunter-gatherer tribe. So there probably weren't too many people who look like Donna or Celestia or Kenny. But you expand that scope. People now, I mean, you try and find somebody who has under 100 Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Our social circles are really wide now. So it makes sense that our brains developed shortcuts over the eons that they were developing that didn't really cost much in terms of like, you weren't likely to get people mixed up in your tribe of 100 people that you lived with and that your ancestors lived with and that your parents lived with and that your kids are going to live with. But in this day and age, our tribe has expanded globally. We not only do we see, and it's not like people on the savannah, we're going to see photographs or news stories or any sort of digital images of other people on the other side of the world. But nowadays we do. We see millions of faces, and our brains worked for millennia, just only learning how to discern so many people from so many other people.
Right.
So and it didn't cost anything it didn't cost anything to have those parameters so fuzzy and vague, because our survival didn't depend on it. These days, there's more of a social, if you get people mixed up constantly because you're working at an office of 200 people, then yeah, I can't say that evolutionarily that's going to harm your reproduction chances. But in this day and age, there is a cost that there just simply wasn't for eons and eons.
Right.
So anyway, that's my little stump speech about why our brains are dumb.
We did have one question.
Okay. Let's see what we got. I'm not quite sure how to word this other than what's the link between pareidolia and schizophrenia.
I I'm
don't
not
know.
a clinical psychologist or
Yeah.
a psychiatrist, so I can't speak to anything about schizophrenia.
Mm.
I mean, you have auditory delusions and hallucinations in some schizophrenic patients, right? But that I don't know that I can
There's a
speak to
link. I
any
don't- yeah.
connection there.
So I'm looking it up just real quick. Is pareidolia related to schizophrenia? Conclusions: unexpectedly. Oh my gosh, the rum's starting to take effect.
I didn't make the drink tonight.
Unexpectedly.
Not my bad.
To
Having
Kenny's
less-
surprise.
Less. Oh, I can't read this.
Oh my
These
gosh,
are
do you
big
want me to
words.
come
These are
over?
big words. Here, hold on. You read that. Can you read that? Nosology.
I can't. see it
Nosology. How do you say that word? I'm sharing the screen. Fuck it. I cannot read this.
better. Nosology.
So here we go.
Nosology.
There we go.
Oh, it's too small for me to read on my screen.
Oh,
You make it
hold
bigger?
on. I can make it bigger. That's what he
That's
said.
what he said. Yeah. Okay.
That's later.
There we go.
Having less nosology specific features than individual specific properties such as creativity and extroversion, and especially openness and verbal intelligence in patients with affective disorder. Schizophrenia promotes the recognition of pareidolia as a specific form of illusion. That's tricky to parse out. It seems like they're saying people with schizophrenia are better at recognizing when they're falling prey to pareidolia. Is that?
This is a full paper. You know what?
Oh,
I'm gonna
wow.
put this. I'll put the link to this.
Yeah, I want to look at that later.
in the chat so that everyone can see. Oh my goodness, because I can't. This is why I don't read academic papers online, because I usually have a dictionary and I ask Google behind me because I have my Google Assistant, and I'm like, "Hey Google, how do you say this?" or how do you spell this word? I don't deal with that. And
I would be curious to know if they found some sort of link between, because from what I was interpreting there of that quick snippet of the abstract, it seemed like people with affective disorders were better at recognizing pareidolia for pareidolia.
okay,
Yeah,
that's
would
what
be
it looked like to me. Yeah, okay. So I have some more pictures I want to share. Do you have
Okay.
any other examples? Because do you have any other examples you want to share?
Let me see what I got here. Well, I want to share. This is just kind of a hat tip to one of the creators of the most specific example of pareidolia.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And the guy's name is not Zach Trenholm. That's actually a friend of mine who posted it. Harvey Ross Ball, the inventor of the smiley face. And he did it as a part of a job for an insurance company that he worked for in the 1960s. So believe it or not, it was not
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump did not do it by wiping mud off of his face.
That's all I can think of. Is when you shared that picture
I know.
before the show, before we went live, I saw that, and the first thing I thought of was that motherfucker that put the wiped his face.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's a smiley face.
Have a nice day. Yeah, it was not actually Forrest Gump. And it was this guy, and he was, he just simply was asked to create something that would make people happy, boost the morale at his company, and he's one of the forgotten creators of literally the first emoji.
Yeah.
You think about it. And then I don't know if you want me to jump right to this one. This is one of my favorite
Oh yeah,
pareidolia examples. Praise Jesus.
I love this.
This is the rectum of a pug
I was
dog.
gonna say it's a butt.
It's a butt of a pug, and Jesus's face is actually the rectal sphincter opening there. So.
Notice we're using medical terms,
Yes.
people, so that we don't get in trouble because we're using a dog's rectal. Rectum. That's great. That's so great. All right, let me get this out here. So I found. Go ahead.
And that's another paranormal thing about pareidolia that we didn't even touch on, is seeing religious iconography and the mother, the Virgin Mother Mary in streaks on a window after being cleaned, or the burn marks on a toast or a pancake. It's like that's its own cottage industry. these days.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Because I mean the like the Jesus on the toast, and there was, I remember way back there was I forget exactly what piece of food it was, but something had a image of Jesus, and there was a casino, maybe it was in Vegas. There was a casino that was buying these artifacts to display.
That sounds like something Bob Stupak would do. There, I can't recall, but I remember there was some kind of, there was a Cheeto that looked like Richard
Yeah.
Nixon that somebody bought. Oh no, Elvis. It was
Elvis,
a Cheeto
okay.
that looked like Elvis, and there was, I think it might have been the Elvis-orama Museum, which has since closed down. But I could be wrong here, but that's what my creaky data banks are pulling out, that it was one of the Elvis worshiping places here in town, because Vegas loves itself some Elvis.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and that's
my.
another thing where priming comes into play, because you never see a Catholic holding up a piece of toast saying, I have found Mohammed on my toast.
Right.
Right, yeah.
That's
Yeah, we never see
that is
Buddha.
one of the most excellent points I think we've ever had on this show.
Your religious upbringing is gonna determine which religious iconography you see clear as day presented to you on some kind of
Is there Buddha toast?
Buddha toast.
Buddha toast.
I like my toast heavily Buddha'd,
Buddha.
dripping with Buddha.
Me too.
Oh my god, that is
More
awesome. Oh, that's somebody, some food truck has to jump on that. Buddha toast.
Buddha.
Can I have extra Buddha on my toast? How about a Buddha bagel?
Yes.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Oh, all right.
I'm looking up Buddha toast.
So let me see.
BuddhaToastGot.com. Buy that immediately.
Yes. Oh, jump on that. Oh my goodness, I love shit when we go off the rails. Anyway, so
We were actually on topic with that. That was
yeah,
related.
we're still on topic. Yeah, I have a few pictures. There's going to be a few pictures that people probably have seen before, but it represents Pareidolia like perfectly.
Okay.
So let me throw these up here. Here we go. So,
Drunk octopus.
The
I
drunk
love that
octopus. I mean,
How great is that? In that there aren't even 8 arms. There's 2
I know.
arms, but we read
I
as an
know.
octopus.
and I've had these things for years, and it wasn't until I saw this picture I was like, son of a bitch. That's
I swear there's a whole subcategory of just playful, and you can see this on Instagram. There's like faces in places, and Pareidolia, this or that on Instagram. Whole accounts dedicated to people have a specific love for engineered, like engineered environment Pareidolia.
Yes.
Like my mailbox is angry with me, or and people who design this, because there's an army of interior designers, of people who work in manufacturing design, who love this stuff because it's
Right.
what they do.
All right, let's see. What do I got next? Let me see.
I'm glad we got to see Drunk Octopus. He's a favorite.
There you go. I love
Yeah.
this one.
Oh, it's water going down a drain, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a nice artistic framing of that.
A quick look, and it's like, yeah, this looks like an eyeball. And I remember the first time that I saw this, I'm pretty sure I was scrolling on my phone, just going through, and I was like, and I love photography. I absolutely love photography. And I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a real nice close-up of an eye. And then I was like, wait a minute, something's wrong. Something's wrong with this. And it really took me a minute to figure out.
Your uncanny valley radar was going off.
My skeptic sense tingled, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, the eye, I think, is one of the, because that's what we look into. It's a window of the soul. It's you look into other people's eyes, and so we are really primed to see eyeballs everywhere. Salvador Dali was enthralled with eyeballs, and he saw them in everything and drew them in everything. And it was one of the examples I mentioned on the AIPT talk, was the eye of Sauron. It's not a whole face. It's not even a whole eye, but you recognize it as an eye. People don't call it the weird curved, obelisk of of Sauron. It's the eye of Sauron.
The eye of Sauron. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you see that and it's like, all right, I recognize, because you mentioned that during your presentation. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because it's nothing but fire.
It's fire with a weird, like not even a human eyeball. It's like a cat slit
Cat eye.
eyeball.
Yeah. But we still recognize it as an eyeball. It's an eye that's looking at us. So yeah, really cool. I love how this affects us. I love it.
Well, there's a beauty to recognizing the effect. A hanged man. Oh dear.
Yes. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing when you look at that, because it's a shadow and you're looking at what causes the shadow, but you're like, yeah, that looks like a man hanging. Wow. That's cute. Kind of. This I love. I absolutely love this. This got me.
This reminds me, there's a brand new Muppets movie coming to Disney Plus today. And Kirk Thatcher, the guy who directed it, who's directed like 4 other Muppet movies, I got to get drunk with him at Dragon Con one year. He's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But this got me. I did the same thing.
That looks like a Muppet so much. Oh my God.
I stared at this thing for so long. The first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell am I looking at?
That is like animals grandma.
Yes. Animal. Oh my goodness. It's so cool. So cool. All right. And then this is just
one choir of cans.
Now,
who doesn't have that thought when you pull the tab off a can and it comes all the way off and you end up with 2 little? I experience that every time I pull the tab off of a can. It looks like a mouth.
I see it everywhere, and I'm going to cheat here because I didn't have time to actually add it to my list of pictures here. But I'm gonna let me take this off for a second here, and I'm going to go full screen on me, just so I can show this. But this is in my bathroom.
Oh. Well, I have to look at you naked every day. No wonder it's like traumatizing.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you how I noticed it, but I kind of looked up and I was like, why is that thing surprised to see me? It is so surprised. And I was like, oh, this will be excellent for the show tonight. This is awesome.
You know, I didn't even realize, but the Pac-Man is a very good example of pareidolia. You see that as a mouth with 2 eyes.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be if we had any like discernment in our ability to see mouth and eyes, but looks like a face.
And even what's even better with that is when you look at that, Pac-Man's eyes are little Pac-Men.
Yes, yeah.
Are they really?
Yep. That's the old style Pac-Man with
okay.
With like the steamboat Willy eyes.
Yes, very much so. Oh, there we go. That one. All right. So I think I have, what do I have? One more. There you go. And I mean, these are little things that just crack me up. That when I see these things, it's just like, it's a mixer.
It looks like a KitchenAid sort of thing with the prongs like popped out.
Up.
Right.
I get it.
Instead of the mixers plugged in where they're supposed to go. Yeah. Now it looks like eyes.
Yeah, and he looks all pissed off that he dropped them. Like, oh no! And I'm seeing Beaker in this.
Yes. Oh, I love Beaker. All right, so now we're getting into some ghost photos.
Oh yeah. Is that bark or is that part of a tree? That's part of a tree.
It's a rock. It's part of a rock.
Oh, okay.
And this is probably one of the most common examples of ghost photos that I get. It's a full frame photo, and there's a little circle. Usually it's a red circle, which I call the red circle of death. And it highlights one point in the back, and they blow it up to where it kind of looks like a face. And I mean, when you're looking,
I see a lot of faces looking at that picture.
I was about to say they're limiting their imagination because I see like 3 other monkey faces to the left of it. Yeah. And if you've ever seen Labyrinth with that whole thing of the
right.
You can start seeing faces in almost anything, but they did pick out the most traditional looking
Yeah.
face. You can sort of see eyebrows. The nose is generally in proportion. He's got a really pointy chin and a bald
Yes.
head, it looks like. But
Like
yeah, that's and
devil.
these are the most easily debunked. If you know where you took the photo, you just go back to that
Exactly.
place and you look at the thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we should probably bring up the face on Mars before we end.
Oh, we can totally do that.
Yeah, which is the same thing, but instead of a ghost face on a cavern behind you, it was on Mars.
Let's see. Let's just bring it up. So, well, there it is. There it is. Let me bring that over. There we go. There's a face on Mars.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it really looks. When I first saw this photo, full disclosure, yes, I was excited. I was like, "Holy shit! We found our ancestors. That's where we came from. We gotta go there. We have to see
How
what's
old were you?
inside."
Like 15 when this originally made a splash? It was a while ago.
Oh my god, this was I was definitely a teenager. But yeah, I mean, I saw this and I was like, yeah, that's two eyes. Even though I can't see the other eye, my brain saw the other eye.
Well, yeah, the shadow, the indent is just enough
Yeah.
there.
Just
And
enough.
then, yeah.
You saw one nostril, and then you saw half of a mouth.
Yeah,
And
what
I
looks
was
like a upper lip and lower lip. Yeah.
That's it. That's totally it. And then you come to so this was, I forget when this was taken.
I had it written down, but it was like 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
And
then
then
this was the updated version.
and then you
of it.
zoomed in, or then they enhance, but NASA couldn't just say enhance and have it happen magically like on the TV shows. They had to get another orbiter up there, and that took decades.
Okay.
And lo and behold, without the shadows, 1976. Thank you, Bob
1976.
Lenzinski.
Wow. Really? So I was only I was 4.
Yeah, I was like 3 or 4.
I thought it was later than that.
Well, you probably did. You probably
Probably
we
didn't
didn't have the
realize
internet
yeah,
then.
later.
Right.
So if you didn't see it on
I
TV,
had to wait for someone to publish a book
or the EST in the library.
and
Or it was on Real People, or That's Incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible.
That's
I love
Incredible,
that show.
or In Search of. That's probably where I saw it, because I grew up with going to Catholic school, which wouldn't have. They had like 2 books that dealt with the paranormal in their library, and I read the same 2 books for I think 6 years in a row until I went to high school where they had more books on those topics. But yeah, so that's
Kids these days don't remember what it was like. They
Yeah.
don't know what it was like
before the
Limited
internet.
access to libraries. Yeah.
This one I love.
I like
love
this. Too. This looks Halloween-y to me.
because this really comes up a lot. Because this is a shadow cast on a wall.
Yeah, and it really looks like the top part of there is a head, and then it's like maybe even got arms up and everything, and a big
Right.
torso.
It
The
looks
head
like
is
it's on a
definitely
fence,
moved a
like
little too far to the
the
right.
sun coming through, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what it looks like to me, like a
The
fence.
dappled, and see, that's a little harder to debunk because if you've got a tree and it's like blowing in
Yes.
the wind, that
Mhm.
pattern might only be there for that moment in time and then just
Right.
gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, as the tree grows, as the sun goes through the sky, travels across the sky. Well, as the earth rotates, you lose it. And you
Yeah.
like you said, you might never get that again.
Zooming in or zooming out, I think really helps. Like, we'll just selective covering up. Like if you covered the mouth part, well, it's even hard once you've seen it as a face, it's hard
Right.
to unsee it, because if you cover up part of it, you're still like, no, that still looks like a mouth. No, that still looks like eyes.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, like let's say you cover up the mouth part and you show it to somebody and you say, what does that look like? They'd be like, nothing.
Nothing.
Because they
Yeah.
haven't been primed by seeing the image that already looks like a face.
Mm.
Right. And I mean, the only reason I saw it is because it was presented as pareidolia. Like that's the only. If I saw this normally, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
I think it looks like a face, but then again, I think a lot of things look like a face.
Right. Well,
good.
you do that too.
It's my job.
You
Yeah.
do that, yeah. That's your
so
job, and
you
I
see
mean,
faces everywhere, I'm sure.
and I look honestly. I mean, I look for faces because I'm so used to this topic. I'm so used to people picking out like optical illusions, within environments that.
Now,
Go ahead.
have you ever had the experience where somebody at a conference or somewhere brings up a photo and they want to show you like, look at this face in the photo, and you're like, well, what about this other one here and that one there, and
Yes.
you see stuff that they didn't see
Yep.
before, and they end up
Absolutely.
leaving thinking they've got even more mysteries on their hands.
Oh no.
Okay.
I go the other direction with that and say, well, you know what? If we're looking at this surface that's either highly textured or multicolored or multi-shaded, let me see. Well, here's a face, here's a face, here's a face. There's 2 eyes, nose, mouth, 2 eyes, nose, mouth. I can pick out faces all over the place that you missed. So why should I believe this is a face over all of these other like 10 or a dozen faces that I saw? And that's, I challenge everyone in the chat room. The next time you use, let's say you're at a public restroom and you look down at the tile floor and it's multicolored. Look for faces. I guarantee you will find one. And look for them all over because they're all squares.
Where am I looking? I'm sorry.
When you go to like a public restroom.
Oh.
And they have the tile floor that's like that marble look, because it has different shading and different tones. Look at it. Just study it, and I guarantee you'll find a face.
Did anybody here? I mean, you guys are about my age bracket. Did you grow up with popcorn ceilings in your house or
Yes.
apartment?
Oh, I see
Yeah.
shit there all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, popcorn ceiling. I mean, right now I'm looking up, and it's not really a popcorn ceiling. There's some texture there, but in the 70s there were
Like
these.
the drop ceilings.
Yeah, well, the popcorn ceilings, it was like looking at cottage cheese. It was really
Yes.
textured.
Yes.
Yes.
And
have
if you threw your action figure up there, it would like chunk off a piece and it'd fall down like asbestos. It was gross.
Right. Yes.
But you could just lay on your bed and look up and you could see all these different faces. It creeped me out a few times. You know, if you're just getting tired and you're drifting off to sleep and you're looking at your popcorn ceiling, you're like, oh, there's a face there, you know?
Right.
There you go. I flipped it up for Tim.
Oh,
Tim
upside
said
down,
something
yeah.
about upside down. Let's see if you could see anything.
I still see him hanging
still
upside
see him
down.
Oh, I still see them because I know what I'm looking for now.
Yeah.
Like
If
I
I
still
hadn't
have it in my
seen the
head.
other one first, I don't know if I'd see that
Right.
one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So this next one I love. So this allegedly has a face of Jesus right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a profile face of Jesus. You can see the nose, the eyes, hair, the mustache, beard.
What is it? Really? See, that's so small on my screen. I'm
I
sorry, I've got a
see another-
laptop. I don't have a.
I see another guy. Oh yeah, look at
So
that.
when you blow it up
Oh.
and really look at it, it's actually a child with a
White
bonnet.
hat, yeah.
Oh, it's a
It's a
good
white bonnet.
Okay.
And this is just shrubbery in the background.
Shrubbery.
It's shrubbery.
And his mustache is the kid's arm.
The kid's arm, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the
Well, that's his
sleeve.
nose.
The sleeve is right here,
Mhm.
and then the elbow, and then the forearm.
That's a
the
great one. I
hand.
had not seen that one before. But
I
yeah,
hadn't
these
seen this-
these old photographs
Yes.
are so low resolution that a lot is possible.
It's really amazing. Even looking at it now, like I'm looking at it and I'm saying, oh, this looks like long, flowing, curling hair
Yeah.
with the wavy hair
Wavy hair.
coming down. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is really cool.
I actually wasn't thinking Jesus. I was thinking bearded lady in a circus is what I saw.
There you go. Yeah.
Because the features look kind of feminine to me, except for the beard, you know. But
Okay.
yeah, it reminds me a lot of optical illusions, which a lot of them rely on pareidolia,
Right.
like the one where you can either see a duck or an old man
the
or
lady-
the old the old man lady old lady
Right.
thing. Yeah,
But this was really good. I like this one. I'm actually going to try and track this down to see if I can find this original
Yeah, that
photo
would be a good
because
picture to have.
this is just really cool.
Especially if you do like an article or something on
Yeah,
it,
something
or
like
something
that
you can
to
write
show.
on. That's a great picture.
This
I
one,
think I remember hearing about this one. This is like an upstairs window or something.
it's a window. I don't think it's upstairs. I think this one is the first floor. But
that looks really creepy.
yeah, it looks really creepy because you can see like it looks like a face here.
It looks like a little girl.
But when you like
Creepy
something
little
I picked
girl.
out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
something I picked out was as soon as you get in, and I'm trying to go in as close as I can without pixelating, but unfortunately, this is a picture of a picture.
Mm.
This is actually a picture of a monitor screen, and that's why you see these lines here.
Oh, so you got artifacts
Yeah.
upon artifacts there.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you should see here is this is the curtain line, and you can see that the face actually overlaps over top
Oh,
of
it goes into the curtains.
Yes. And that's telling me this is most likely a reflection of
The creepy girl is right behind you. Oh no.
it's probably a reflection of the bushes outside or the
Okay.
trees outside or something outside, because it's a reflection on the glass, which is outside, and the curtains are behind the glass. That's
Yeah,
why
you
it's
can
over top
kind
of
of see in that one eyeball shadow that it like the curtain changes the
Right.
tone there. Yeah, that's
Right
the
there.
Good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that, I mean, that looks really good. You look at that and you're like, that looks like a creepy motherfucker looking at me. Like that's horror movie shit right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with that. Actually, I do. I totally want to go. All right. I think that's it. That's all I have for my pictures. But yeah, Pareidolia. I mean, that's Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. Pareidolia.
Dolia.
Pareidolia.
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 Is a very fascinating topic, and it is the cause of let's see, it helps us progress evolutionary. Oh my god,
Oh, you
I'm
suck.
so fucked up now.
It helped our ancestors
It helped
survive.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it also now tricks us.
Oh yeah.
It go ahead.
I appreciate it too as a working cartoonist and a person who loves cartoon content. I would be living a very sad life if I didn't have the ability to recognize things like this, to recognize non-realistic images. I mean, think about what your life would be like if you looked at a picture of Snoopy and you couldn't read that as a cartoon dog.
Right.
Or you looked at a picture of, if nobody saw their caricature as a valuable thing that looked like them, I would not get paid to produce caricatures of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's just a fascinating concept. I mean,
It's a double-edged sword.
Yes. Our generation grew up on Saturday morning cartoons, and that would not be possible without this effect.
Yeah.
It simply won't be, because everything is drawn 2D on it's they're drawings. There's no depth to it.
I just thought of another experiment that somebody besides me needs to do, where if you can come up with some kind of visual test that would measure your tendency to have pareidolia, to see faces in patterns, if you had some sort of measure of that, and then you gave it to people who came from different cultures, because some cultures are far more steeped in cartoons than others. Japan, totally steeped in cartoons.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Anime.
America's getting more like that now. India, not so much. In fact, it's sort of a stereotype in the caricature circuit. If you're at a place that has international tourists and a lot of people coming from many other places, when an Indian couple walks up, if they're an Indian couple from Britain, it's like, oh yeah, they're gonna get it, they're gonna love it. But if it's an old school Indian couple from India, they're like, oh, they're not gonna like it. They're not gonna be able to read this as their, the worst is when they sit the elderly mother down for you, and then they're like, they really don't see it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just saying this is the stereotype that has sort of developed in caricature communities that I know of, that I've participated in. And so there's a definite cultural difference. I mean, when you get a Japanese tourist, it's like, oh yeah, they're going to get this and they're going to love it, and I'm going to get a big tip. but yeah, and thankfully there's always people that buck the trend, but that is definitely a trend that people notice. So I'd be curious to see what visual differences there are for people from different cultures. Like if you're a cartoon fan, if you read manga like every day,
yeah,
is your pareidolia like on a hair trigger? as opposed to somebody who's maybe from Eastern Europe who doesn't look at doesn't look at cartoons at all, maybe.
Right.
Right. I want to. We're getting near the end here, and before we get into like where people can find you, I want to share one example of excellent pareidolia, which represents. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever seen in my life. Are you ready?
I'm curious. Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Look at that shit. Look at that shit, man.
The proportions are way off.
I love it. I love it. And for anyone that doesn't know what the joke is, this is a piece Celestia did for me.
My name's in the corner there.
I love it. I love it. Yep, there's her name.
Dude, I did that in 2018. God, has it been 3 years? Wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, with COVID, it's already been almost 2
Time has
years
ceased to
gone
have
anywhere.
meaning. Yeah.
Right? I know.
Look at that sexy motherfucker with his ascot. I have that. I have the There is my ascot. There it is.
You've got an
Yeah,
orange
yeah.
ascot.
Yeah.
One of my viewers, one of my good friends, got me one. So I wore it on the show when he got it for me, and I was like, "Oh, I love it! It's beautiful."
Oh,
there you
great.
go. So I have one now.
Perfect.
And I'm gonna wear it the rest of the show.
All right, John, I have your question. Come on. Pain in my ass.
I love you, John.
Oh, the
Celestia,
Uncanny Valley. For people who don't know what the Uncanny Valley is. Okay, these days CGI has gotten really good. But even with as good as it's gotten, was anybody really bothered by the Princess Leia representation in the latest Star Wars movies
in
when they completely recreated her?
Rogue One.
Yeah, in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And there's certain things. It can be features, it can be movement, it can be a combination of the two, where it's a deep down lizard brain thing where you're like, that's not right. There's something wrong with that. There's, the way that moves is wrong. And you can sometimes it works with pareidolia. Like if you think you see something, like I saw a shadow one time walking toward me. It was like, it was dark. I was in a car, we were moving, and I wasn't sure if it was an animal or what it was. But my pareidolia made me think, oh my God, that looks like half a man walking on his arms.
Right.
And I was incredibly creeped out because that's creepy, number one. But I mean, there are people with congenital problems who have half a body who walk on their arms. And if I'd seen just that and it was clearly that, I wouldn't have been creeped out. But it walked weird. It looked weird. There was a weirdness to it. It was an uncanny valley. And it was because that wasn't what I actually saw. I forget what it was. It was some kind of animal or something, a cat. Mm-hmm. And once I realized what it was, the uncanny valley slipped away because I was no longer looking at it as the thing. But the uncanny valley is essentially when you're close enough to a thing, like the CGI of a person talking is just close enough to where you're fooled. You're not like, okay, that's a smiley face. I recognize it as a cartoon emoji, but it's close enough where you're like, that's real. Oh, but it's not. There's something holding you back from being like fully like, yeah, that's real. I completely accept that. And I'm going to go about my day. It's like, that's real. There's something wrong though.
Yeah.
So that's the uncanny valley.
Like for me, I noticed it with when they recreated Peter Cushing for the same movie. Movie. Like it looked good. It actually looked better than the Leia recreation, but there was still something off. It was something weird, and you pick up on it, and you're like, something's wrong. And even I
feel for the artists, man, because it's a hard thing to overcome.
It is.
You have to be beyond perfect to overcome it. Otherwise, it's got this Stepford wife.
That's that's our culture, though. I think, especially with the more geek culture, we are so used to this photorealism from CGI, where it's like, all right, if you do a really good job, like Marvel has really done for the most part, I think they've done a good job with rendering realistic looking figures, but when there's something that's kind of rushed, and for example, in The Mandalorian, the last one, the episode with Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Although, yes,
They did a really good job.
So
Yeah.
excited, so geeked out moment. Yes, when Luke showed up, but it was still like, oh, that's something's wrong. That's not perfect. That's not something's not right with it.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
pick
and
up on that.
the way that people, and this is the way that artists get away with something like that, is they have to obscure. They have
Yeah.
to make it a quick camera angle where it's in motion. They have to have it, with tree foliage in front of it, or have some kind of blurriness where you can't see it completely perfectly, and then you believe it.
Yeah.
Again, that Goldilocks zone. If you have
Right.
have a digital recreation of somebody on, I'm not a digital, well, I am a digital artist, but I'm not a CGI effects artist.
Right.
But that's why practical effects, why we kind of
Yeah.
crave practical effects
Yep.
in a lot of ways, because it's like we can just fully invest and not be like, it looks fake, and there's where the CGI is, and da 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 da. So I like my media either fully CGI, like I love me some Clone Wars and the Bad Batch, because you kind of accept the whole world. The whole thing is
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But if you have the CGI character that's interacting with other, like, no, you
Practical
can't
effect.
pay me enough
Yeah.
to watch Garfield. It's
Oh my
It's-
god, you had to bring that up. That's like the all-time worst.
it's
example.
jarring. And yeah, the
So
uncanny
bad.
valley is the fact that your senses are like, this does not belong in this world. This is not right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. All right, so we're at the end of the show. This has been awesome. I've had so much fun.
Thanks for having me on.
It's been a great conversation, and this is like 10 times better than anything Ben Radford can do.
Oh,
Totally.
fired.
Like,
Okay.
10
I
times.
thought you were going to do a.
Oh, we have a trivia question.
Oh,
You have it? You
Are we
have
gonna
one?
do that?
Okay, we're gonna do a trivia question. And Donna has a trivia question for
is it
everyone.
for me, or is it for everybody else?
It's for everyone else.
Okay.
And if you get it right, the first person that answers this correctly, and I don't even know the answer to
Well,
this,
and lives in the United States.
and lives in the United States, you will get a copy of Joe Nichols' book, Investigating the Paranormal,
Ooh.
stamped from the
Oh,
library of Kenny Biddle,
wow.
personal library, which really takes away from the value. But I have this. So I'm going to give it over to Donna. She has a trivia question for you. Go ahead.
Where did Celestia take Kenny and Donna in Vegas?
There you go. First person that comes up with the answer gets the book. If you're in the United States,
There is a quiz after. Okay.
there is a quiz. But don't worry, you're good.
So another question that came up early on, I think it was Bob's question. This is for Kenny. He wanted to know why Leia has different clothing, or why she dressed this.
Why she has a shirt on?
Yeah, why isn't she half naked? Maybe
Oh,
not.
okay.
So that is because I've been doing lately. I've been doing videos, a vlog series for Skeptical Inquirer magazine. So I do a series now called Ghosts in the Machine, and I have 2 episodes out. And I figured I'm kind of looking around, and I don't want it to be the same old background all the time. And I figured, you know what can I do to kind of change things around? And so actually it stems from last weekend. I was on Brian Dunning's 15th birthday for Skeptoid. So I did a live broadcast with him, and I actually put a Skeptoid shirt on Leia because I had a background. I actually had a banner saying happy birthday, and I had balloons and everything, because I like to go balls deep when I do something. So I had everything, and I took the shirt off of her, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put another shirt on her and just do another video, and I'll just change a shirt once in a while. So I'm surprised people actually picked up on that
Oh.
and not was like, what are you doing covering up? I actually had somebody complain that I covered her up, and I was like, dude, chill. Chill. She's a badass no matter what she's wearing.
Exactly.
She is a badass.
She doesn't have to be
That's the point.
naked.
Because actually this is a while ago, but I had someone complain that I had a half naked woman in my background. And I said, do you realize who this is? This is a woman that started a rebellion for the galaxy. She kicked ass on her own. She didn't need anyone. She could wear a bikini, and she killed the #1 gangster in the galaxy while doing it. So if you want to take your comments or your sexist comments or whatever you want to do, you shove them up your ass, because this is the most badass female I've ever known in my life. Right there.
Have you ever heard the story of what Carrie Fisher reportedly said to a concerned father who was like, what do I tell my daughters about why you're wearing that ridiculous thing? And Carrie Fisher responded, tell them a giant slug made me wear it, so I killed him.
Yeah.
That's right.
What's the tell?
All right. Do we have a winner?
We do have a winner.
Okay.
First. Finally, it took a little bit, but John Kennedy got it.
John Kennedy. Sweet. All right, John, I will be sending this out to you as soon as I sober up and figure out how to box it up and mail it to you.
Question here real quick.
All right, Celestia, what do you think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, I loved it. It's a thing that will never happen again because of all the rights involved and the legalities. But I loved it, and of course you were kind of taken out of it because you can sort of see there's Christopher Lloyd was strangling, and I could tell, and it was so full of frivolity and just joyful. You could tell they were having a blast. They didn't care about the uncanny valley. They were just having a blast mixing the two worlds. So it's almost like they went so over the top. They cleared the uncanny valley and went all the way back around again. And I just felt like, okay, I can accept this whole world because of the extreme measures they went to. And they sort of, tipped their hat a little bit to that, because you had regular, town, and then you had Toontown, where it was like all tunes, and the mixing of the two worlds was just, sorry, you got me on memory lane back there. It was so nicely done. Yeah, that
was a good movie. I like that. All right, so we're at the end of the show. Let us know, where can people find you or find your work if they want to know more about you or they want to reach out to you, what have you?
Well, I am on Instagram and Twitter as Celestia Ward. My last name is Ward, W-A-R-D. That's like draw spelled backwards. And so you can find me on.
Wow,
that's cool.
That works out perfectly.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter that way, and reach out if you want something. I am pressed for time, so I can't fulfill every order, but I am available for a lot of stuff. And Squaring the Strange, been pumping out podcasts every 2 weeks for Squaring the Strange, sometimes bonus episodes as well. You can see our whole lineup on any podcast dispenser, Squaring the Strange. And that's about all I got going, which is enough.
That's enough. Yes, that's enough. All right, I'm going to put up our Bob's announcements, and you might cover you a little bit. Let's see. Up a little bit. There you go. Up, go the other way. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so Bob's announcements, which are tomorrow, Saturday, Donna and I will be at Selma Mansion for the Psychic Fair. They have a Psychic Fair going on. Donna will be setting up her Lucky Tiki creations, which I have to show. She made a custom bottle for me.
Oh,
that's
cool.
right. And wait, there it lights up. Isn't that the coolest shit ever? Love that. So she'll be there selling her crafts. I will be there actually filming for one of my next vlogs or video series for Skeptical Inquirer. I'm going to actually try and sit for some of the psychics if they allow me to, and we'll see what happens. As always, first and foremost, I should have done this first, but Three Tortured Souls podcast, which is every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's me, Tim Vickers, and Dave Schumacher. Tomorrow night, we will be talking about monsters of Halloween. So we picked a monster that's associated with Halloween. We're going to tell you about the history and where it came from and all that. And that should be interesting. October 12th, I will be starting a course from the Rhine Institute with Lloyd Araback. I'm co-teaching a course on, it's called A Skeptical Approach to Parapsychology. Lloyd reached out to me and asked if I would bring my version of skepticism to the course and offer commentary and teach what I do, solving mysteries. So I think that's it sounds like a fun idea. So it runs for 8 weeks. If you're interested, go to the Rhine Institute website. October 24th, I'll be on a podcast called Spaced Out Radio, talking about skepticism. And then November 4th, I'll be on Crossroads podcast, also talking about everything that I do. So there you go. That is Bob's announcements. There you go. You don't have to lean over anymore. Let me put my special guest up. Anyway, thank you, Celestia. I appreciate you coming on and talking about
photo.
Ah!
There we go.
with my ascot. Thank you so much. I can't wait
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
It was good. I think everyone enjoyed the talk.
Everybody loved the show.
It looks like nothing but positive reviews about the topic and discussing it. And
I was told there might be crazy people to argue with. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah,
there's really not. I mean, there's been 2 people that have been banned for the show, like that had to be booted
in the history of the show.
In the history of the show,
that's
not bad.
Yeah,
no.
It's not too bad.
Especially being Kenny Biddle, you know.
One I did, and I forget who they were.
Yeah, you booted
Well,
somebody.
they were just being a dick. They were just coming on and just cursing everyone out. And then another person came on that that had a little problem because I didn't believe what they claimed they could do, which was getting messages from aliens through his track phone. And he took that as an insult and therefore started calling me a racist piece of shit. And Donna had to boot him.
Racist against aliens?
Or? I guess so.
Okay.
I guess so. I don't know why, but that just came up, so he got booted. It takes a lot for us to actually boot someone from the show.
Yeah, you really got to be.
You know, I don't mind as long as you have a good, friendly approach to it, and you can discuss and debate and disagree all you want. But you know, as long as you're nice about it. But all right, so with that, thank you so much again. I appreciate it. Stick around for a minute while the video plays for our outro. Everyone else, have a great weekend. Be safe. Treat each other nice. Help each other out. And remember to never, ever stop learning. And I will see you next week or tomorrow if you watch our other podcast. Bye.
Bye, guys.